Hey everyone, are you ready to make an impact in your life with 2025? Are you ready to make sure you actually achieve those goals in 2025? If you're ready to get started, then this is the episode for you. My name is Diana Lizarazo, and today's guest speaker is Jacqueline Francis. Now, before we get started, I want to share some exciting news with you. We have a social networking platform for the real estate investing industry. If you're an investor, you're a mentor, or you're a professional that services the real estate investors, then this is the platform for you. If you want to be around like-minded people, if you want to be around those that are going to uplift you, support you, collaborate, this is the environment you want to be a part of. And it's called REI FAM. And to get there, you go to Real Estate Investor FAM, F-A-M, fam.com. So register is for free, get your profile set up, get yourself set up, and start meeting people. Now back to the show. So on this show of On the Flipside, our guest speaker is here to share some mindset tips and to help us evolve and change and become the best versions of ourselves. So if you guys are ready, let's send some hearts, let's send some thumbs up, let's send some fire, and let's get. And while we wait for her to come on, because usually I feel like it takes 20 years. Oh, this one was a quick one.
Was,
Hey!
right? And all the times that we've been on here, it is the quickest one.
That was very, very quick. That's good. We're going to be starting off good then,
Yeah,
Those goals are already starting now.
I
We're
know.
ready to go, right?
Here we are in December. Can you believe it? 11 months have passed and we're at the home stretch of 2024.
Yes, and I love this topic because a lot of businesses are using December to get prepared and to just really hit the ground running in 2024. So I think this will be a great topic. So what did you want to start with specifically?
Well, I wanted to say, first of all, that hi, I'm Jacqueline Francis. I'm a self-image and mindset coach, and I'm so happy to be here to talk about what you can do for the beginning of 2025. So you don't have to wait until January 1st to get started. I think it's very important that people start to take a proactive approach to what they want to see happen in their lives in the following year. So I think this is a great time to start reflecting back on 2024. What has the last 11 months brought into your life? I mean, it's a whirlwind, right? Of growth, of challenges, of lessons. And it's important to take time to pause. It's important to take time to reflect on your journey. And journaling could be something that you do. And if you don't, it's a great way to start because you can get your ideas down on paper. You can start to ask those questions that you don't normally ask because you're so busy with the hustle and bustle of life all the time that you don't get to hear that voice guide you. So, some questions that you can ask yourself, right? What did I accomplish this year that I'm proud of? What are some things I accomplished this year that I could have done better, right? What were my biggest challenges? And what proof of that, and how did I overcome them? Sorry.
Mhm.
Where did I fall short, right? What did these moments teach me? How did I grow as a person, right? What is a few things that I can look back on and be really proud of? What are some new friendships I made, right? What are some things I had to let go of for my growth? And when you can sit there with a nice cup of tea, some candles, and relax your body and just sit there and just allow yourself to think about these questions and let the answers come through. I think it'll reveal so much and you will show so much gratitude for your growth for the past year.
I think these are such great tips to just get started because you're right. When you take advantage of the year that has just finished, because
Mm.
from there, with this journaling that you do, you want to study how it went, right? Because then you want to prepare, okay, what happened? Like you said, what are the challenges? Where am I? You go into even, I would say, like that's feedback, right? You're using last year as your feedback, right? How did it go?
Yeah.
How did my KPIs go? Did I meet my goals?
Mhm.
You know, if I didn't meet my goals, why didn't I meet them? Were they the wrong goals? Was I, you know, like setting myself up for failure? What is a better goal to make sure I do achieve it?
Yeah.
Right? Because then that's where you get the feedback from the journaling. You do all this stuff, even talk to probably people is also a good idea. If you are in a type of business where maybe people see the way you are working, and you maybe even that feedback is also good to like, how can I improve, let's say, my communication skills, my business skills, in whatever sense that means, so that you can provide also improvements to yourself.
Exactly.
Like, okay, this is how I'm going to
Yeah.
change, right? These are the things that I'm going to change. So I love that, like that study of, okay, this went wrong, go study it. Now, how do I make myself better?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Exactly.
What can
And
I change about
yeah,
myself and look into? What are the different strategies out there that I didn't know about? What do I need to, for example, I feel like what's happening with me is like, what am I not good at? And I just need to hire someone else to do it so that I can actually get more effective, right? Because we're not all amazing at everything, but maybe putting money in one place will help you succeed so much more.
exactly. And becoming aware of those things, being okay with letting certain tasks go. And I think we all get so hung up on like, no, I need to do it myself. I can do it better than this person, but you gotta let that attachment go. There are people out there that can do the job so much better than you. And remember, you're the visionary. You created this business, this company, this corporation. So you're always going to be the one giving the ideas out. But then there's nothing wrong with finding someone that can just help you get there faster together because their skills are so much greater than yours in that area.
I love it. So now that people, let's say like that, they go and they journal and they reflect back on their life. So what's the next thing that you'd want them to do, or the next tip that you'd have for them, even in that process? I don't know.
I would, one thing that I haven't done personally, but I would love to is, celebrate some of your wins. Like make a list. Like when you write those things out, take all the things that you've accomplished that year, how you've grown, who you've become. If you had to stand up to somebody and speak your truth, those are all wins. Whether you move, whether you downsize, like look at your life and celebrate it. Buy yourself something
Mhm.
nice. Take yourself out to dinner and just sit there and be like, I'm celebrating me.
Mhm.
Like, I can do this for myself because of this incredible year that I had and how I'm going to make it better for next year.
And technically, you did do it actually. Remember, actually, we were having a conversation and I was asking you some questions to make you reflect back. Remember? And you were just like, oh my God, I have, because I was talking about basically how we're both like leveling up and
Yeah.
doing bigger things,
Oh, I
right? And
forgot.
you were kind of like, no, things are still like as they are. But as the conversation comes and you start really reflecting back, is do you actually see, oh, and you were like in the middle of like, oh yeah, maybe things have been going pretty good, you know? And I was gonna say, actually, someone did that to me a few years ago when I was just getting into real estate. And it's really good, I feel like, especially when your head's down and you're just go, go, go. Because I felt, to be honest, a few years ago, I'm behind, everyone's doing all these amazing things,
Um,
and I'm not like getting these thousand doors like everyone else, and I was just kind of like thinking that I'm not. And it was very funny when people were telling me like how I've been doing so much and like things are going so well for me. And I was kind of like, what metrics are you looking at? Because in the ones that I'm seeing, I'm like way behind everyone. But then as they same thing, what I did to you, they did to me was like once I started reflecting back and and realizing, for example, the matrix I was using had actually were not even good for me. So even that is important, right? Is
yeah,
like what KPIs to say, what stats or what information are you using? Like for example, for me, number of doors doesn't really work for me because I
right.
do many different things. Like I do private lending. There's no
No,
doors unless if I count
no
it a
doors.
house, but that house doesn't stay with me, right? I lend it, comes back to me,
Yeah,
and the door is gone. Or, for example, the amount of money I have to lend out is more. So
yeah,
maybe before I was doing 3 doors, but like what happened last year and the year before, I went from like 11 doors to say 11 houses that I was lending to like three because I
Yeah.
was having to lend much more money out for bigger mortgages because of the
Exactly.
style of lending that I like to do, right? So it's
See?
also understanding your business and the
Yes.
type of metrics that you should be using that makes sense for you because like that or else like that I was like always thinking I was behind
Yeah.
because I wasn't getting like the numbers that other people were getting, but not realizing I have a completely different business
Yeah.
model. So
Yeah.
different, right?
So
And that was,
different.
and then so I was looking at just houses that I have, and I wasn't looking at, but I have more than one business kind of lumped together. Like I do multiple things in real estate, and I was only looking at one portion of it. So these kind of things also help a lot.
Big time. And you don't start to see that until you start to unpack it, right?
Mhm.
And the biggest thing I got out of that is stop comparing yourself, right? How
Mhm.
many of us are out there that are looking at what we have and thinking it's not enough, thinking we're not enough, thinking that we're further behind than we actually are? If that is
Mhm.
you right now, I want you to remove that belief from your entire being and go into 2025 trusting that you're exactly where you need to be. Because if you
Mhm.
were any further or behind or ahead, you wouldn't be who you are with your own experiences, challenges, and your specific journey. And the
Mhm.
minute we start to shift that, just like you did, right? You open up something where you're able to see your life through a complete different lens and start realizing, oh my gosh, I'm amazing at this, or their strategy isn't my strategy. This works for me,
Mhm.
and I'm okay with that. I'm happy with this. I'm
Mhm.
further along than I actually thought I was. But without that
Mhm.
reflection, you would just keep thinking you need to move on to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. So when do you ever stop? When do you ever pause?
hmm And like that, it makes you feel better, no? Because after that conversation, when that person made me realize, I actually was like kind of propping my, I'm like, I'm doing great things, you know? Like, I was like, sometimes you just get so stuck in just
Yeah.
work
Yeah.
that it can get exhausting and you don't realize like how impactful it is to actually celebrate it. Like, you actually do feel
Mhm.
amazing. Like, that person made me feel so much better when I
Yeah.
had took the time to actually think about it. Don't you feel the
Right?
same way? Like
I
it
felt
gets like you
exactly
kind of
the
get
same
like
way.
I am doing good, you know? Because sometimes you're like in like you don't even have time to think about it. You're just like
Mhm.
I'm here
On to the
swimming
next.
along in the middle of the ocean, you know, not knowing what's going on, thinking like who
Yeah.
knows, right?
Yeah.
And then
Thinking
someone's
like,
just like, "Hey, you're almost to shore," and
yeah.
you're like, "Really?"
Yeah, it's so true. Like if I didn't have that conversation with you, and as much as I'm doing the work, right, we always have blind spots. So having that conversation with like a really good friend, like how we did, will help you to see, help you to trust that, hey, you know what, I am doing amazing. And it can show you even like us, like we're, we do personal development. It's something that like, I'm so passionate. I teach it, I live it, I breathe it. I still have blind spots. I still feel like I'm doing all the things without sometimes taking a moment to be like, wow, you know what? I have done really well up until this point. Because you, you think you're going to leave it for the end, or you're thinking that like, I'm doing these things every day, but that's why like it's not just an end of the year thing, but being able to reflect every single day on how the day has passed, on the month ahead. And if you start to incrementally do it, it becomes a part of you. And I think you'll start to see more of your wins. And then, it helps people feel better. You'll feel really
Yeah.
good. Think about it. If you've done that from month to month to month, day to day
Mhm.
to day, and you get to like the end of the year and you're like, wow, look at all these amazing things that I've done. Like,
And
who
it
is this
motivates
person?
you, like you said, right? That motivation is important because we do go through burnouts. Running a
Yes.
business is hard and you go through burnout where, like you said, especially if you do regularly. And like you said, neither of the us really ever do that regularly. You know, it's like habits that we got to
Yeah.
implement. We're not, no one is perfect, right? Like that
Yeah.
sometimes you get really stuck in the business and you forget, can I step
Yeah.
back, right? Can I look into things? Because we're all humans. We're not going to always be
Yeah.
doing things or even like that, like that accountability. I feel like I'm gonna set a tip right now.
Yeah.
That accountability is so helpful, right? Because like that, like you're the mindset coach, you're always in this, you're in it. But sometimes the little things forget, like none of
Yeah.
us are perfect and there's so much in it that I just happened to ask you because I was reflecting on me, to be honest, Like I was like, hey, things are going pretty good, I can't believe I've leveled up. And I'm like, what about you? And then you're like, yeah, things are okay. And then you're talking about it, or you're like, oh my God, things are actually going really well. Like,
So it goes to show you too, this is why conversations are important, right? If you don't also make time to have these conversations with people that can handle the level of success that you're at, you're not going to have these realizations, right? Because if
Mhm.
you're in circles with friends that are going to be jealous or you can't have growth mindset conversations with, you're never going to feel like you're further ahead than you actually are. And then you dim your light. You make yourself feel small because you want to cater to what that other person is going to think or they're going to say. But when you're having conversations with, really powerful women or men or in circles where you can talk about your success, you can talk about being able to level up. That's when you can really start to understand and look back and see, wow, yeah, I am like I wouldn't have you kept probing and so it got me thinking. And the more I talked, the more I started to realize. But if we didn't have that conversation and you didn't ask me, I would have not had that realization.
Mhm. Mhm. And you probably wouldn't have been so excited, like, yeah, things are going really well, because it is nice. Like when you acknowledge those
Yeah.
achievements, like you think like whatever. But no, it actually when you talk about it, you're kind of like that little prop, you're like, that was
Yeah.
good. That was nice. Like I did do a good job. Like it really helps with the confidence a lot, I think, right? It really
Yeah.
helps with you're getting that proof of concept, okay, things are getting better. That's
Yeah.
great. So like even like smaller wins, like
Yeah.
it just those wins are very you don't realize the impact on your confidence that it
Yeah.
gives you. So like that, if you're having a downtime like that,
Yeah.
like those like when you're going through burnout, like yes, take a break. But sometimes like depends on who you are, but like sometimes watching what other people are doing can help motivate. Because like, oh, they're still going, and you're like, because sometimes I would need like just watching people. I'd feel it'd make me feel better. I'd be like, oh, they're going. Like, come on, Diana. Give yourself a few more days, and you're back. You're back to it. So
Yeah.
they'll motivate you, even just watching on the outside, or having like your higher level coaches, for example, higher level, I said mentors that you're, let's say, not paying for, but they're like those people that are like way up there that you follow, like having them there, like having different levels is important. And
Yeah.
then you have the people like that, like your support team, where you guys are, let's say, together on the mission, on maybe separate businesses, but you're together motivating each other, supporting each other, masterminding together to push each other forward. Right. And then
Yeah.
you will have your coaches that you do pay for. But having all those different levels of either support or people that you admire, like all these different things, like it's really, I feel like, important to have all those different pieces there because somewhere you're going to need it, somewhere like that. Like you feel down and then you'll just be watching these people or your motivation or like these people you aspire to be, like, let's say those big ones, like the Grant Cardones or whoever, those bigger people, like sometimes just watching them, they like pump you up and you're like, okay, ready to go, ready to go.
Let's go, let's go. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I do believe that like we are capable of doing anything that we really, really want to do, if the desire is there and you wholeheartedly want to do this, the people, the things will show up for you. But it's getting clear on what it is you want. It's having people around you that can support you in those ideas and in moving your business forward, right? And like you
Mhm.
said, sometimes you listen to something motivational or, you have like those higher level coaches that you may not pay for, but you hop onto YouTube with. And there's so many resources now. We don't have reasons not to be taking chances on ourselves or
Mhm.
helping us live a better life. And when I say better, like we can always elevate the experience of the life that we're living just through being happy about something we maybe took for granted in the past or enjoying
Mhm.
those morning walks that before you'd be like, oh, I can never like go on a walk, like whatever that is for you, right?
Mhm.
Doesn't have to be this grand, like, oh, I'm spending millions and thousands of dollars on these things. It's the small steps, it's the everyday things that you can look forward to and appreciate and be thankful for. And
Mhm.
that's another thing I want to talk about too. Like when we're looking back at 2024, like, what can you give thanks for? Like and it should be everything. It should be the wins, it should be the challenges that you face, because every challenge that we are given in our life is there for us to grow. It's for us to expand. It's for us to get into, and it doesn't feel like that in the moment, right? It feels like, oh, why am I going through this? And you're asking the questions, why me, why me? But I think a lot of us have to stop saying, why me? And know that it's there because you're meant to learn something from it. You're meant to look at that, because you always do. When you overcome something and you look back a year later, a couple months later, you will start to see why you had to go through that.
Yes, yeah. Or how much easier things are that you've passed through that because you've broken that barrier. 100%.
Or maybe something within you had to change. You had to overcome something through that challenge in order to be further ahead than where you were if you didn't maybe experience that challenge, right? I was recently listening to something, and they were like, you have to feel the pain. You can't wish the pain to go away, because if you wish the pain to go away, you're going to wish that the situation that you were given won't allow you to expand into this version of you that has a capacity to receive more, has a capacity to be ready for more abundance, more love, a new job, a different location in your home, whatever that is for you. So when we're going through challenges, it's reframing what that is. And as we're moving to 2025, be open to everything that's going to come your way, the good, the bad, the ugly, the this, the that, because all of it is meant for you to get to the next level of your life.
100%. And actually, I really like someone that said this. This was I forget, like it was like someone was speaking, and they basically said, if you are able to change your view from even a challenge, because first of all, they start telling us, don't look at things as problems, because what does that do? Stop us from even moving forward, right? And then so went to challenges. It's a challenge that we need to like surpass. But they said like when you get to that point where it's a blessing, or then the next one is an opportunity, right? Then it's like these become opportunities. But then the final product that we get to is that when you realize that everything that happens in your life is a blessing. Like all these words is very interesting when you hear them, how different they sound and what they do to your mind. You know, like that a problem, you just think, I want to leave.
Yeah, you
I
shut
have
it off.
zero interest in being involved, right? And then a challenge, you're like, ooh, okay, like a puzzle, let's figure it out, right? So you're like the curiosity, if you're a curious person, like you love a challenge, right? Like I love challenges, I'm a very curious person, right? But then when you start viewing it as an opportunity, you're like, ooh, because opportunity means like, especially for entrepreneurs, how can I make this into a business? How can I solve these problems for people? Because if I'm having it, then they're also having it. And then that becomes the opportunity becomes like something that you can do a business idea from,
Yeah, or
right?
something greater, right? Like you switch the word from like a challenge where you feel closed to an opportunity where you're more open now, right? You become more
Mm-hmm.
receptive to like, okay, what does this have in store for me? What can I learn from this?
Yeah, yeah. So it's like interesting how it's like how the door slowly opens,
Yeah,
right? You said
yeah,
like problem is like completely closed, right? Challenge, it's like you're cracking it open, the curiosity is
yeah,
there, the opportunity. I feel like it's pretty wide
yeah,
open because you're all over it. You're like, I need to find solutions, you're
yeah,
like, I wanna check out these opportunities. So the impact, and this even shows to tell us how words really impact us.
yeah.
Right? Like the
Exactly. That's what they
impact
say,
of the
right?
words we
Yeah.
use. Sorry, go on.
No, I was gonna say that's why they say words are like magic, right? You cast spell over your life through your words, through what you say to yourself, to others, through your situation. So it's so important to be mindful of when you're talking about things, especially when they are challenges in your life. What are you
Mhm.
speaking? What are you speaking into existence about the situation, right?
Yeah. And that's something we're always all working at. I'll catch myself, I'm like, ooh, Dana, why did you say that? You're closing up something, or you're pushing something away. So you really start analyzing what you say a lot. Sorry, what you say a lot because especially like us that we're trying to grow, we're always like, okay, what kind of growth words should we use, so that we're not closing the doors to things because like that when you're in the mindset of like what we're trying to grow, it's always growing. It's like you want to use words that will grow you so that
Mm-hmm.
they don't stop you from
Yeah,
going anywhere. Because like that problem, door is closed. Who
yeah,
likes a problem?
exactly.
Not me. Let's run
No.
away from that,
And when
right?
you're
But if
so
you say
focused,
opportunity, you're just like,
yeah, yeah, you instantly become open to solutions. The minute you think about something that you're going through as a problem, your body goes into like this reactive state of, I don't want to deal with this. This seems like too hard. And you tell yourself all these stories that literally stop you from getting the solution. Like it blocks it until you kind of like let go of that resistance because it creates resistance, right? And the minute you let go of the resistance, you become more receptive to new solutions, to people with ideas, to help you deal with the solution to come in. But we get so
100%.
fixated, right, on things, on instant gratification, wanting the thing to be resolved instantly in this moment.
100%. Yeah, that was a good tip. Any other tips to help people get ready for
Yeah.
2025?
Set some clear goals. Like, looking back at 2024, when you start to do that analysis of who you are as a person, what you've gone through, the things you've accomplished, now let's look forward. What can you look forward to in 2025? What would you love to see happen into your life? And I truly believe we're the creators of our lives. And if we set those intentions now, we're not setting them like, like everybody else, January 1st, you start to set them now. You will have a clear vision of where your life is going to go. And if there's detours, you have to know that it's still taking you back to the intention that you originally set,
Mhm.
whatever that is, right?
Mhm.
Actionable steps, right? Like what can you do today to start that business? Maybe it's just to register. Maybe it's to sit there and write a list of the things that you want to provide in your business. Maybe it's calling up that friend that you knew how to contact so and so. Like take the action because we can all sit here and say, I want to do all these things. I want to go to Greece. I want to go to France, but you never want to book the trip. So where are you going to go if you don't book it? If you don't take the action, right?
Yeah, and
Just
I love
put,
that because when you're saying that specifically is also making them small enough. So it's
yeah,
easy for you. 'Cause one of the biggest things with a goal is you are really setting a lot of new, depending on the size of the goal, especially you're going to be setting a lot of new habits that is very hard. And that's generally the reason why we fail at our goals is because it's a lot of change and our body's just not sure, our mind is averse to change. So it's like finding ways to either add that habit into an existing habit or making it small enough if it's something completely new that you're just like, for example, like that, like, oh, just to create a list of for something, for traveling, like you
yeah,
said. You're like, that's not so hard. Feel like you can do it. I can get it done in 5 minutes, or like I think that's also nice sometimes that question of like what's a task that I can do in 5 minutes?
yeah,
Because then it's something like you get it done and then maybe the next day you do another 5 minute thing. And these little things they do add up within time. And then afterwards you probably maybe in a couple of weeks you're like 5 minutes is not enough. I can do this bigger task and I do it 30 minutes or even you like it depends on your personality. But then once that
yeah,
momentum is going, then then it gets a lot easier. So I love
yeah.
that. That's a really good tip that I wanted to emphasize because those actionable steps, making them I feel like small enough so you're just like piece of cake, get
Yeah.
it done, um, type of thing. Like, and I say like that to start off, an actionable item that you get done in 5 minutes. I feel like is always the best one because you will be like 5 minutes, easy peasy, you
Yeah,
know?
right, exactly. And I just want to touch on that as well and just say, like, remember, the purpose of a goal is to grow, and it's not to get. We always think when we set these goals, it's to get somewhere, but in the process, you're growing. You're expanding your mind, your body, your entire being to be able to achieve that thing. So it's the process of which you go through because, like you said, it's so hard to change. We resist it so much. So when you think about these big goals that you set, you're like, oh my God, how am I going to do it? And instantly you're deflated. How am I going to lose 20 pounds in a month? oh no, I can't do it, it's too hard,
Mhm.
right? But you grow in that process because you're like, what can I need? Because every change you make in your life, you have to change with the change. To get the change, you have to change,
Mhm.
right? So it's, whether it's daily habits, whether it's the way you eat, whether it's what you do daily, like whatever it is, something about you, your physical being, needs to take different actions that an old version of you did not take before,
Mhm.
right?
And
Declutter your
actually, I
life.
really love that the order you're going so far because, like you said, this journaling, the wins one, the journaling is also good, but like specifically the wins, like that, like let's say with the journaling, it maybe starts falling down the drain because something happens, or like these tasks don't happen, whatever, like this stress is happening. But then, like those wins really help to
Yeah,
re-motivate you because you're like, what I've
you.
done, right,
Yeah.
so far. So I think like even these just steps so far are really good because together they're really kind of helping you solidify and keep you motivated. So like that, if like the tasks aren't happening like that, go back to your wins and be like, what have
Yeah.
I done? What has been exciting? And it can be also like doesn't have to be big wins, which I think we
Oh,
once were talking about that. Like those little wins are sometimes like really start bringing that gratitude
yeah.
and appreciation to you that you don't realize because sometimes, especially me in the past, I only looked at big wins.
Right.
And sometimes you need like those energy
Yeah.
boosters of the little wins.
Yeah. It builds the momentum, right? And it also gives you evidence to look back on when you're having those moments of, oh my gosh, nothing is working. Oh my gosh, why is it feeling so hard to get clients or whatever it is? You start to find the evidence in your life that brings that energy boost back up, right? That makes you feel good again, that brings up your frequency to then keep going.
Mhm.
The second thing I want to talk about, declutter your life. How many of us want new energy, but we do not know how to get rid of the old? We
Yeah.
keep clothes that don't fit us because we think we're going to wear them, but we haven't worn them since like 2000. Okay. Relationships. You know that this friend that, you love so much, but at the same time, you're like, this person is not helping me. Every time I talk to them, they don't make me feel good. Time to let them go with
Mhm.
so much love. Learn to declutter. It can be as simple as decluttering your wallet, decluttering your home, right? Start to remove things that you no longer align with. And you're like, okay, if I get rid of this, then 100% you will get something back to replace that. Something greater, something better
Yeah.
for you, right?
Yeah, I love the whole decluttering thing actually, or even just like even in the sense decluttering or cleaning, sometimes I feel like when you feel a little chaotic in your mind, like cleaning or decluttering, I feel like it also helps to do the same interior, Like sometimes you need that even as an action to just help the mind kind of reorganize itself. At least I don't know. I feel like that happens to me. Sometimes if my mind is all like all over the place, I'll do a little cleaning or like that, or like sometimes one drawer. Like I just want to like clean out one drawer because the thing is like pissing me off, and I'm just like, you know what? Like get all that dirt out of there, get all those extra who knows things that just should have been thrown out, and just throw it out, and then you like organize it all. I'm like, oh, I feel so happy
You
again.
feel like you really feel it within you. Like you feel so good after, and you're like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
yes, I did it. I got it done.
I feel like you conquered the world. Like it can be the smallest thing, like one drawer, and I feel like I've conquered the world. Like I'm ready to like get there.
Exactly. Third thing I want to share is like commit to daily habits, right? Going into a new year, everybody sets all of these resolutions, but let's reframe that, right? Let's set them up as small incremental habits that will get you to the bigger picture sort of thing, right? So if you're looking to lose weight, what can you do today that's going to help you? Maybe it's drinking more water. Maybe it's not eating after 8 o'clock instead of all of a sudden it's January 1st. You're like, okay, I'm not eating nothing all day. It's just vegetables. It's like your mind is going to go, what the hell just happened? You
Your
can't
mind will
just,
go into self-sabotage
it
mode.
will, it
Any
will. And
reason,
maybe
your
some people can
mind
do
will be
it.
like, you're starving, and you're like never starving at that time, or your mind's like, you want to have that brownie now
Yeah.
when you've never had a brownie, but it's just like all of a sudden your mind's like trying to self-sabotage hardcore.
Yeah, right, exactly. Maybe keep a journal of what you eat in a day. So that way you can start it now. So that way by January you can be like, oh, okay, I can cut this out. Maybe I can, move this into this area. Like we can't track things we can't measure. So start to track what you're doing daily. So then you can measure the success that you have when you start to reflect on it, right?
And it really starts helping you get to know yourself more, which
Yes.
is very important for the for the growth. Because once you start really getting to know, for example, why didn't I get that task done? Why did I stop myself? And then you start, let's say, reanalyzing, okay, what task can I win at? Right? And you start really analyzing yourself. I feel that you start learning what triggers you and what
Yeah.
don't trigger you. And then you start building your newer tasks according to that, because either you bring an awareness and you just change and you're just like, okay, I got this, or you bring an awareness and you're like, okay, that's not my area. I'm going to make sure I stay over here.
Yeah.
And then you start succeeding in that direction. So it's also
Yeah.
that learning about yourself, which are everything you're saying, the journaling, the daily tasks, like always taking all these things as a learning and self-reflection of yourself, because you need to use yourself, or this is how I look at myself. You use yourself as a tool and you're trying to learn, how can I make this tool work the best? And for me to know that, I need to learn
About
about myself.
yourself.
But you start learning about things that you never knew
Yeah.
about yourself. And you'd say, like, people say, like, oh, I know myself, I know how to do this. And you're just like, like once you start doing this stuff, you're like, oh, like I actually don't really know myself that well, until you go this, you're like, oh man, I'm this way, I'm that way, or I have to do this.
Yes. Exactly. And another thing too is like if you don't know yourself, it's so easy to get influenced by other people, to take whatever anyone says and be like, oh, I think that's true. I think that's true. And it may not even be for you. So it's so important to understand you. Know what makes you react to things. Know what you love. Know where your boundaries are. Because if you don't, it's so easy to just get walked on, to live in this world without having any sort of direction, because you won't know how to say no.
Mhm.
You'll just be left all over the place.
Yeah, and I want to give an example to that actually, because also sometimes just picking something because you don't know yourself enough is
Yeah.
also good actually, because so what happened with me was I was in a community where they seemed to promote this whole like, what's your favorite car, and you work towards like your goals, and your gift to you is this car. So people would be about their Lambos and their like these super expensive cars, and these things would motivate them. So I just kind of picked it. I picked something. I don't remember what I picked, because I'm not really a car enthusiast to care enough about a car. That's not really my thing, right? But it was by I was just like, sure, I'm gonna just pick a car, like, because like everyone else is doing it. But as the journey went on, the intention was that you have to pick something that motivates you enough to want to work towards it. And
Yeah.
that's where then I started picking my things. Or for example, for me, my fun stuff is traveling and like disappearing for a month. Right. So I was just like, oh, okay. I was like, now it was just like, okay, mine's not maybe not be a car because that's not like my thing. But then you start learning, but because you put this in place where you're like, my goal is this car and I'm going to have to make this much money to get this car. And then you start seeing like, I'm not motivated. Why am I not motivated? Oh, because I
Mhm.
have like the wrong thing that it's pushing me. And then you
Mhm.
start learning, but so what is the thing that's going to motivate me?
Yeah.
And then so even just pick something, but analyze yourself, right? Like this thing doesn't seem to be motivating me, right?
Yeah.
So
That will
what
tell
do I
you a
pick?
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, what do I pick to motivate me, to push me
Yeah.
forward?
Yeah. And it may not be what everybody else is picking, right? And
Mhm.
again, this is why you need to know yourself. And sometimes picking something to show you that it's not for you. You're like, wait a second, maybe I didn't really like this after all.
Yeah.
What is gonna, push me forward?
And that
Number,
curiosity is so important. So the last thing,
yeah,
but that curiosity is so important to have that,
yeah,
because like that are also shutting the door. Because all of
yeah,
a sudden now you're thinking, I suck at doing these tasks, and not realizing the motivator is the wrong thing and I need to
yeah,
pick something else. So that's why this curiosity is important, because you have to also identify where the problem is,
Yeah,
right? It's like, oh, in my case, they're like, oh, my motivation was the wrong thing. And I
right.
need to pick something else, but I need to kind of go through those hurdles
Yes.
to realize, oh, okay, like that was my issue. It's not my other goals, it's my motivator that's the wrong
Mhm.
thing.
Yeah.
So
Well,
your next
again,
step?
it,
I was
it
like,
it goes to show you, like, when we want something in life, like the contrast shows up, right? And you're like, wait, why did this happen? Why did this thing happen to come up? So it's always like life is always reflecting back to us what we are. So if you are getting something you don't want, it's sometimes to show you that what you do want can be on its way. You just have to know that, hey, this isn't what I want. And I know that 100% through what I'm going through or whatever that is, right? Yeah.
exactly.
Number three, I did mention was commit to daily habits. So sometimes it's, starting journaling. If you've never journaled before, you can start that as a practice in January. You can start it now so then it becomes a daily habit. And what I want to say is that a lot of times we think that we have to, if that when we do these things and we stop, like we get so hard on ourselves. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I haven't journaled today. Like you got to remove that pressure. If one day you don't feel like doing it, it's not the end of the world. Just know to pick that back up the next day because you don't want to get into a habit of then going 2, 3 days and 4 days because then you're going back to exactly how you were.
Mhm.
And it's to build new habits. So to
Mhm.
build new habits, you must be as consistent as you can and the commitment to yourself. When you
Mhm.
commit to yourself and you make a promise to yourself, it's always easy to break. And that's what we're trying to avoid by making those commitments because then you start to build the evidence in your life that you can take your own word. And so you can truthfully say to people, yeah, I can follow through on this because you know yourself that when you commit to something, you will follow through with it because you've made that promise and you build the evidence of showing yourself that you follow it through. Number
Mhm.
four,
Mhm.
practice gratitude. And we talked about this, right? Practicing gratitude on a daily basis shifts you from feeling low, from being in a low vibration, to feeling really good about the things you have right now. And it can be really that instant. You take a few minutes and you start, feeling a certain way. Somebody tells you something, it just your mood changes. 5 minutes, not even 2 minutes, if you don't have the 5 minutes or 10 minutes, right? Bring
Mhm.
gratitude up. What can you be grateful in the situation? What can you be grateful for that this person has showed you? What can you be grateful for that something happened, this morning or last night or whatever that is? Just pull from your bucket of gratitude and hold it, feel it in your heart in that moment. And I think when we
And you know,
do that every day, we
mhm.
can see just how much life can open up for us.
Yeah, and I think actually those two together are very powerful. So what I'm getting at is like that, like you go and you're doing your daily journaling, and then that fails
Mhm.
because that consistency, it takes time to get consistent. But when that fail
Yeah,
happens, we get very negative on ourselves and putting
yeah.
ourselves down, which is what even worse makes it harder to get back into
Um,
that consistency. Whereas like once you see yourself doing that, and maybe even do the gratitude when the fails happen, when you're just like, you don't happen to get it done, and you see yourself bad talking yourself, switch that to how grateful you are for either it's like, doesn't have to be anything related to that, or it
yeah,
can be of what you've achieved so far, but I managed to do 3 days in a row. That's amazing,
yeah,
My next one will be 4 days in a row. So feel like even combining those two, because I feel like the failures, that negative talk really brings us
it
down
does.
a lot easier and will, for example, hurt us with that consistency,
Yeah,
right? Whereas like if you at least have the positive talk, maybe you don't get it done, but the next day you will. Or maybe all
yeah,
of a sudden that sometimes that positive gratitude and you just like, I should just get it done now.
yeah,
Right. And then maybe you get it all of a sudden, like it actually motivates you to just get it done in the moment.
yeah. You get this burst of energy, and you're like, yes, I can just do this right now. Know yourself. It comes back to again knowing yourself, right? Another thing I want to touch on is prioritizing yourself and self-care. We have been brought up on this hustle and grind culture that it is so rewarding to work late, to build your business from the ground up, to never take breaks, to just go, 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 go. And
Mhm.
I've realized in my journey that has been such a lie, that you can build a business still prioritizing yourself. Rest is part of the strategy. How do you get to have new ideas if you do not rest your mind? If you do not give it time to be quiet, to sit in silence, to go for a walk, to just be without all of the things all the time and
Yeah.
keep going and going and going. Schedule that
Mhm.
spa date, even if it's just for you, right? Do something every day or every other day where you can prioritize you.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I completely agree. And it's just even something that I feel like I always say to people is imagine, if you're at 50% of your health, you're really only contributing 50% to others or yourself.
Yes.
So, and if you're, for example, like at 100% stress or whatever, you're stressed out, you've put a barrier there. And so jumping that barrier becomes harder. So sometimes you're like, I'm stressed, go to bed. I'm stressed, go for that massage. I'm
Yeah.
stressed, go for a walk, right? Because you know that you start noticing that if you get away from that problem and you just don't think about it, the solutions actually come a lot faster.
Because your mind is it's more calmer, it's more at ease. You're operating from your parasympathetic nervous system rather than just being in fight or flight, where you're just like literally holding on by the edge of your seat. So, how do you expect new things, ideas to flow through? A lot of people
Mhm.
who've had amazing, incredible ideas that have done really well, they have just landed when their body is in a state of rest,
Yeah.
when they're calm, when they're at ease,
Yeah.
right? Because you can't. You're
Yeah. I
literally,
find my most creative ideas
yeah.
actually come when I'm walking in nature, actually.
Some people say when they're taking a bath, because water, right, on
Yeah.
your crown chakra just cleanses. And the
Mhm.
last thing I want to leave everybody with is, embrace the power of belief. Our beliefs and what we choose to believe create our life. So if you've been walking around 2024 believing that you're not good enough, having this deep-rooted belief that, hey, I want to start this business, but I really don't feel like it's going to get anywhere, moving into 2025, start to analyze what those beliefs are and trust that what you believe wholeheartedly comes into your life. And
Mhm.
you can create a beautiful life. You can literally create everything once you start to harness the power within yourself.
Mhm. Mhm. I love that. And I really like actually that. And even, I think even just talking about how to strengthen your belief is important because like that as we're starting our goals, you're really starting with, can I really do it? Again, those negatives just really start
Yes.
embedding themselves from the beginning because it's the unknown for you, right?
Yeah.
It's like, this is
There's such an
something
unknown.
I've never done before. And like that, then you get into the mind of like, I don't know what to do, or this is going to be so hard. Like you're setting this groundwork of like making it already a mission for you where so it's like also even those little tasks, and I personally associate, someone told me this and I really have taken this to heart, that belief and confidence are the exact same thing actually.
Mhm.
So the strength of your belief is really the confidence in that thing that you can do. It's like what belief
Mhm.
and confidence to me are the same. So if you don't feel confident about something, what can you do to strengthen that confidence?
Mhm.
And that's so that to me is the same, right? Like if you don't believe in yourself that you can do something, how can you strengthen that belief
Right.
in yourself? What
Yeah.
actions can you take that will help you step it up a little, right? Because you can't like you're not going to, especially people who have big goals, like they don't believe it from the very beginning, right? But they're like, it's happening, but
Yeah.
they strengthen their confidence or belief with the little tasks, right?
Yeah.
Because then when you have those wins, like that's why those wins are so impactful,
It
right? Because
is.
it's like
Yeah.
you get the win and you're like, oh my God, I'm getting closer to my goal.
Yeah.
It's getting exciting. You're like, actually, maybe I can do this, right? And you
Yeah.
strengthen your belief. And then those little baby steps at the beginning actually start becoming bigger and bigger because you're really strengthening that belief that you have in yourself, that confidence you have in
Yeah.
yourself.
So how do you do that, right? Through words of affirmations, through journaling, through like you building the belief that way through repetition. That's really what it is, right? You're finding ways to repeat this, to build it up to the point where it just starts to show up for you,
Mhm.
right? Because it's going from having very little belief in something that you might do or be. And when you strengthen that through consistently repeating things, right? That's how we really learn anything. If you think about playing a sport, playing a guitar, we have to practice it. So
Mhm.
just like finding our worth, finding the belief in what we need, we have to be able to have to practice it until it becomes second nature.
Yeah, that's a good point. And it is, to be honest, we have to brainwash ourselves
100%.
believing the
Yes.
things that we want to believe in. Because
Yes.
it, because like that, if you don't even have like the smallest belief that you can do it, it's never gonna happen. So sometimes like that, you said that that repetitiveness is very important of saying that you can do it, and probably saying the bigger goal, because you say the big goal, and those little ones will come in easier.
And two, to like remember, like when you're speaking about your goals, not to keep it so far off in the future. Like, oh, I hope I'm going to have this successful business one day. Because you're always going to be speaking it into the future. So you're always going to be waiting for the one day. So sometimes it's, and maybe that's a different topic, it's talking about some of those goals as if you're living them right now. So some days
Mhm.
it's, what does a day in the life of me being a CEO look like? What does the day of the life of me having my brand new car look like? What would
Mhm.
a life, what would my life be if I was genuinely happy every single day? What would not affect me, right? And you start to play around with those feelings, what it brings up in you. You can write it down. You can even, a great thing to do is record yourself. Record yourself
Mhm.
speaking about your day. Oh my God, today was the best day ever. You'll never believe what happened. And you can play that to yourself at night.
Played
So
on
your
repeat.
mind, yeah, starts to not only hear your voice, like, wait a second, oh, that happened, because the mind doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's imagined. And so if you
Mhm.
play with these ideas, you start to sink them in, you start to really finite them into you having it, because you'll start to
Mhm.
believe it.
Mhm.
Yes.
Mhm. Yeah, and I like that. I was saying like, what would my life look like if I had that animal
Animals,
sanctuary I want to create 100%.
just,
Isn't that exciting
what would that feel
too?
like?
Yeah. But
Yeah, it'll be
isn't that
exciting.
exciting to start dreaming about it? You're just like, oh, what would it look like? How could I build it? You start all those little questions start coming out of it.
For example, let me just leave this last idea. You know that experiment where they tell people to close their eyes and picture a lemon or an orange. And as you're doing that, you're closing your eyes and your body starts doing all these things. You start salivating, sometimes you start smelling the lemon. That is proof that we don't have to have something tangible to start feeling those feelings. So Patricia, what would your life look like if you had an animal sanctuary? Start to close your eyes and start to envision what feelings it would bring in you, how much happiness it would bring, what those animals would look like, what would you do with them on a daily basis? Because your mind will not know the difference. If you do that consistently for a few months, who knows? You might even end up having that animal sanctuary by the end of the year or sooner.
Yeah. And I was gonna say, even if you start thinking about it right now, watch what you do. You're gonna
Yeah,
start searching online, and then all of a sudden you're like,
exactly.
"Where's a piece of land that I can buy this?" Like
Like maybe I could do this in
the
my
thinking
backyard.
starts. Yeah, that thinking really starts making you take action. So it's just like that
Yes.
dream goal is really helps to just push you forward, right? Because you start like it starts exciting you because maybe you start just describing what it is, and then you're all of a sudden in your mind it's just like, hey, why don't you check like what land is available in this area? And then all of a sudden you see yourself online checking what land is available because
Yeah.
you want to buy it, to
Yeah.
start thinking of like what are the expenses going to look like, right? And those little baby steps, as you think about it on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, you start accumulating those little tasks together.
Yeah. And And then, as you know, before you know it, one thing will lead to another, and you will have the thing that you talked about a year ago, 6 months ago, 3 years ago. Like, you literally will bring it into your life by just the idea alone. I mean, think about it. Everything that we have right now around us was created from somebody's imagination. Our phones, the pictures behind me, your wall, the chairs we were sitting on. Like, somebody had to think, oh, what if I wanted to build a chair? What's a chair? What would that look like? Right? Just like Patricia in the animal sanctuary. It came from an idea that was brought into the physical through a series of events that happened with a strong belief in the thing that you desire to have.
100%. Did you want to recap all the points? Let's do it all in one because we did talk a lot. I feel like just in case people miss, let's do a quick. What are all the points that we should?
Yeah.
And I think before you say it, actually, the one thing I do want to say is don't get overwhelmed with all this. Even just pick one to get started. And when you have that confidence and you're good at it, the like you said, the consistency is there. Maybe pick another one.
Yeah.
So also don't be like you have to do everything because that's again where our failures come from is because that overwhelming like, oh my God, there's like 20 tips and I got to do all of them. And then you're just like spiraling into the negative world over here.
I love that. Thank you for pointing that out. But reflect back on 2024. What are some of your wins? How have you grown? What challenges have you overcome? Start to put that on paper and you will start to get a really good picture of where you were in 2024 and how you can move forward into 2025. Set some clear goals. What do you want to achieve in 2025? What would you like your life to look like by the end? And even visualize that. Picture that it is 2025. What do you want to accomplish? So you're doing a lot of things in this short period of time, but it's so powerful, right? Declutter your life. Start with something as cleaning out your wallet, cleaning out your car, cleaning out that room that you had left all year and you're like, I'm going to get to it. Clean it out. Because when you clean out things in your life, you're removing the old energy and allowing new energy to make its way to you, right? Commit to one daily task a day, whatever that is for you, but commit to it. Tell yourself, and you can track it, right? There are apps now where you have habit trackers and it'll pop up. Did you drink your water today? You just click it off. You do that every day. By the end of like the month, you're like, oh my gosh, I committed to this. Like you'll feel so good by the end of January of the things that you committed to. And then you're going to be feeling so great. You're going to want to continue it. Practice gratitude. We all need to have way more gratitude in our lives. Even me, like for everything and anything. One of my mantras is that, like I live in gratitude. And I do, because, things could be completely different. It's called the law of relativity, where, your life can be in relative to being really good or not, right? We always can compare our lives. When you start to look at where you are, there's so much gratitude for it, right? Prioritize rest and self-care. Make sure you're finding something that you can do, if not daily, that is going to calm your body, calm your mind, and allow you to feel really good about what the next step is. Or just rest, like declutter your mind even, and your space, so you can allow silence and stillness to come into your life. And the last thing, embrace the power of belief. The more you can strengthen your belief, the more you can be confident in the thing that you're doing. Moving into 2025, cultivate the power of belief.
I love it, Jacqueline. Thank you so much for coming on. If you guys love what you heard from Jacqueline, she has so much energy. She's an amazing mindset coach. She's going to be tagged on here. So if you want to hire her, watch what she's up to, she will be tagged on here so you can look into her more. You can follow her. If you love my shows and you love what we're talking about here, and you want to stay on top of what I'm up to, definitely follow me too. Jacqueline, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much. And guys, I want to wish everybody an amazing Christmas and New Year's holiday and enjoy the time with family and friends. And we'll come in the new year with something great and amazing that you guys are going to love. So stay tuned for January show. Thank you, Diana, for having me. You are so amazing.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And we'll see you in the next episode. Bye, everyone. Bye,
Bye.
Jacqueline.